What is going on, my Atomic Truck Works friends, old and new? Thanks for watching. And today we're talking about rust. The dirty, dirty, dirty rust. We're up here in the Northeast and we get a lot of snow in the winter, so they put this nasty stuff on the roads that really gets up underneath the vehicles and it eats away the metal and makes it just rust out. And it seems like no matter what you do, it's really tough to stop it. You know, we actually after we get done with the restoration, we have a lot of ways that we're able to stop that from happening. But unfortunately and fortunately, most of the vehicles we do don't see a lot of bad weather once we finish them. They're usually pretty nice. Some of the off-road stuff, those guys use and abuse them, so those do get to see the weather, and we're proud to be able to put our products and our work on it and make something that does last in the bad elements. Also, we're like over by the ocean kind of. I mean, we're probably about 30 minutes from the ocean, and we have a lot of salt water up here. So a lot of the vehicles, especially like the Rhode Island vehicles, if those vehicles come over here, they're usually rotten to the bone. It's just the salt water just gets underneath them and gets in nooks and crannies and eats up everything. So we have a lot of rust to deal with, and we're going to kind of go over what we do to prevent it and your options. Like a lot of people are like, hey, do I buy a new panel? Do I buy a new part, or do I reuse my old one? And it's pretty simple. Like we have some of our customers that they love their truck specifically. That truck is their truck. You know, one of the trucks we're doing for a customer, he tells stories how him and his buddies would go to the drag races, and because it was so late and so far away, they actually put a camper on the back of it, and they'd camp out there and they'd have fun and, you know, just enjoy life. And so that vehicle, he wants like that specific vehicle. And doing so, you want to use the original parts, which is a lot more money, because to take, for instance, a Chevy door that we have here behind us, a door for that truck, you might be able to buy it for $300 or $400. But if you wanted us to repair it, we'd have to strip it, sandblast it. Once it's all sandblasted, you have a few $100 there. Then we have to actually do the metal work, which could take, depending on how bad it could take from half a day to 2 days. You could do some pretty extensive metal work on some of these doors, and that really adds to the overall price of repairing that specific door. When you're done, you have the original door. You don't have some knockoff that's made overseas. You have the original part, which is great, and we do love doing that, and we love to challenge our skills and actually be able to start with something that's destroyed and create something beautiful. But then you look at the other hand, and you could just like call up a company and order a fender, and the fender might be a couple $100, and you do get what you pay for. We always give our customers options. If you want the cheap fender, it might be cheap up front, but then you're gonna have a lot of fitment issues. The metal's really thin, and the stamping's usually poor quality. So a lot of times we might have to tweak body lines, adjust things, and they're really hard to align. So you end up, whatever money you would have saved buying it, instead of paying $400, paying $200, you're definitely going to pay more in labor to fix that. So I don't recommend buying the cheap stuff. Some of the better aftermarket stuff is a little bit easier to work with and a little more forgiving. You might spend a little bit more money on aligning it and getting that proper fitment instead of paying someone to do the rust. And the rust is challenging because like rust will go in between, like inside the door, in the cracks and crevices. And if you don't get all that out, it's just going to keep growing. It is like a cancer, and it just keeps eating away. And what we do to try to prevent it is, in areas that we can't really get to, we'll actually use like a phosphoric acid, and we'll get it in there really good. We'll neutralize it. We'll blow it all out. If we can't like get in there and really sandblast it, and even sometimes when you get sandblast it, two panels are sandwiched together and you're not going to get sand in there. So you'll put your phosphoric acid in there, and that'll eat that rust up, and you got to try to scrub it and then blow it out really good, neutralize it, and then we instantly put like an epoxy primer on there that is a rust inhibitor and an adhesion promoter. If we get all the rust out and it's back to raw metal and it's treated, it's going to outlive all of us. And so that's kind of the best way to do it. But it is big bucks for big trucks. It costs a lot of money to do big restorations like that. So if you're not in it and you don't love it, it's not worth doing. If you're looking to just have a quick, nice driver, there's other options for you to do too, which, like I said, is to purchase these parts, throw them on, and not actually go through all of that metal work. That is the kind of good work, or the good part about a lot of the trucks, is parts are really readily available, even through this crazy corona that we went through with all of the shipping issues and all of that stuff, and the manufacturers closing down. We were able to still get a lot of our truck parts, which were really nice. A lot of the specialty car parts were not available, but some of the truck stuff was. With that said, that's like kind of going over like a real classic vehicle, and obviously a classic vehicle for me, I love the older trucks because when you get done with it, it always increases in value. They never decrease. It's a part of history, as well as It's something not everybody could have. You know, anybody could go out and buy a newer vehicle and drive that around. And, you know, to have something like this, it's kind of, I don't know, it's special to me. I love doing the classic trucks, the older trucks. And as we get through, even some of the newer, older trucks, there are real issues with rust, especially up here. I don't know, California and Arizona, it's so dry and warm. I'm sure they don't have the issues that we have over here. I know the guys in Minnesota tell me they have these issues too. And I'm assuming, well, I know like some of the Southern Canadian guys have these issues as well. You start taking like a 2010 Ford truck or Chevy, Dodges, you'll see them on the road. And like the Dodges, always over the rear wheel wells, they're starting to rust out. The Fords, rocker panels, under the doors, the frame underneath their driver's seat, they get so rusty. We fix so many of those things. And what's nice again is once we do it, all the extra stuff that we put on it for treating it, it's not going to happen again. It'll last for, I mean, it'll last a long time. We have vehicles that we did, you know, 10 years ago now that are still not showing any signs of rust, which is great. But you have to go that extra mile. And there are guys who try to like doctor them up and put cheater panels on it. A cheater panel is a panel that fits over your old panel. So if you have a rusty rocker panel, some people will cut the rust out. They'll treat that area and then put a cheater panel over it. Now, when you're putting a cheater panel over it, the problem that you're going to run into, especially on the trucks like Fords specifically, is that gap between the door and the rocker panel, it's small. So now when you put a cheater panel in there that's a 1/16 of an inch thick, basically, you're going to actually have a smaller gap there. So you're going to have more opportunities for your door to actually rub on your rocker panel. I don't recommend cheaters. I recommend taking the rocker panels off, fixing everything. There's a lot of supports and different metal structures that are supposed to be underneath there. You should fix all those. You know, a lot of people put the cheaters on, and meanwhile, everything underneath there is still rotten. So now your cab's going to still flex and do all this weird stuff, which is going to break welds, it's going to break seams, it's going to allow more rust and moisture to get in there and do this all over again. We go through and we fix all the inner supports. Then we fix all the inner supports the right way. Then we treat them all with an epoxy. We usually will do some sort of paint on there, which you don't really need to. The epoxy is definitely good enough. Once that's on there, it kind of locks in. And then we put our panels on over that. And those panels are also treated from the backside. And then we epoxy them obviously on the front side, do our body work, finish work. And this way it ensures that there's no more rust that's going to get in there, and the moisture, if it does get in there, is just going to sit and repel off of our paints and primers. So I hope that this video helped you understand a little bit about the rust that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Rust is a horrible word. We hate it, but we love it. We fix it, and that's kind of what we do. So if you have a rusty truck and you need some work done, you can follow our video, watch our videos, because we're going to show you how we repair them. And also, if you're local, you're more than welcome to come into the shop, and we'd love to do some work for you.